Awesome. Thank you. So today, Thursday, January 15th, 2026, this is our January all member voting meeting. Thank you all so much for coming. We begin by acknowledging that we meet on the traditional lands served by the Haudenosaunee and Cayuga people. We honor America's first people and all elders, past, present, and emerging, and we are called on to learn and share what we learn about the tribal history, culture, and contributions that have been suppressed in telling the story of America. We invite you to think about the spaces you are inhabiting, and the indigenous people who came before them and were stewards of the land. Thank you. So just some grounding, a reminder that our ITA values that guide all of our decision making and all of our work. We take care of our members so that our members can take care of their students and their families. We engage in pro-labor, anti-racist, and socially just practices, and we engage in democratic decision making. So today's agenda. We will provide an update on the CAT reflections of the Build a Better Contract campaign. So the last time we met, we had just, gotten to the point where we're like, okay, we have a tentative agreement. It has been ratified, and we were the next week, right before the break, the CAT was going to get together to do the final debrief on the entire campaign and figure out, now that we have a little bit of space to reflect, what did we learn? What did we do well? What can we improve upon for next time we negotiate, and hopefully in 2028? We will outline some next steps for implementing our new collective bargaining agreement and taking on new and resumed union initiatives. And if we have enough folks on the call, we're going to vote on a proposed resolution to join the Tompkins County Worker Center's Minimum Wage Coalition. Before I move on, Aurora, did you receive any absentee votes? Okay, so we still need 50 people on this call to be able to vote because there are no absentee votes to add to our 50-person quorum. And that is it. That's what we need to know there. So as we have discussion later on, if we end up voting, keep in mind that our values guide our decision making throughout our meeting. Stay present, but take care of yourself. When people do speak, assume positive intentions. Share the air, step up and step back. And in a stacked discussion for voting, we do try to make sure that everyone on the stack has a chance to speak once before anyone else on the stack speaks twice. And you guys are the colleagues who are being trusted to do the work for those who are unable to participate, but also text a friend, see if you can get them to participate. And this meeting will end no later than 5:30 p.m. I do not anticipate that being a problem today. As we proceed through our meeting, some chat norms that we ask you to keep in mind. The chat is open for this meeting at this point. So chat norms, the priority for the chat needs to be to serve the following functions: to build a stack for stacked discussions, and to count votes for folks who aren't able to use the Zoom poll feature. Secondarily, the chat is a great place to share a quick thought that you have as I say something. If there's something that you want to interject, something that you want to put up, emojis are great. Chat works for a quick thought. Please make sure that it is on topic to what is being discussed at the moment so that people are not having to mentally split their brains and deal with two topics at once. Keep it short so that it doesn't take away, and maintain a respectful tone and not distract from the speaker. And members may need to be willing to pause discussion in the chat when asked by facilitators who need to count votes, etc. And it is at the discretion of the chair and my two co-hosts, Brian and Emily, If the norms are not being met, we reserve the right to make an on-the-spot decision, like closing the chat for a portion of the meeting or all of the meeting, or sending individual warnings or timeouts to individual members. Totally cool, not gonna matter, not gonna need it, but a good thing to review. So a roll call, great reason to have the chat open. So in the chat, please drop your stats, name, pronouns, building or buildings, and what is your union resolution for 2026? Chat is open, feel free. Laura, will you read some of these out as you see the ones that like,
Sure.
yeah.
All right. So Brian from Northeast says he wants to help land the new salaries plane. Renee would like to attend most meetings. Rose hopes to continue to be engaged. Gretchen wants to keep showing up. Audrey wants to break some rules.
Ooh, I love it.
Catherine, Catherine wants to create more opportunities for in-person union community building. Jen's hoping to listen to understand without taking on emotions.
Ooh,
And
that's a
mine
good one,
was
Jen.
Mine was to train my replacement, which I feel like I've done because Molly is ready to roll. And then I'm hoping to birth a new troublemaker this year. Um, Emily wants to create a women's committee as she transitions from pack chair. Connie wants to continue learning how to be a good rep. Tyler wants to
Yes.
show up to as many ITA meetings and events as possible. Riley wants to pack the Board of Ed room on the 27th. And Eva wants to attend more meetings. Yes.
Yay.
Molly wants to not fail as secretary. She will not. I'm not worried about that. Nancy wants to build solidarity and support for early childhood teachers. Gary wants to encourage members to take a deeper role within the union as a rep.
Awesome. Oh, I love all of these resolutions, and I don't know how to capture the chat except for in, the video, but man, I love these resolutions. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, everyone. Okay, so getting into the good of the order business negotiations update, which felt really weird because I'm like, how do you do an update on a non-update? But there's an update because the the last stage of the Build a Better Contract campaign is for the Board of Education to vote to put the approval stamp on the cover of our collective bargaining agreement. They are scheduled to hold that vote on Tuesday, the 27th. At this moment, we know that the meeting is scheduled for 6 o'clock. We know that sometimes the board enters executive session from 6 to 7. Sometimes they enter executive session at the end of that meeting. We never know. Sometimes they don't enter executive session at all. And we never know when they're going to enter that executive session until 24 hours before the meeting. So we are advertising this as a 6 o'clock fill the room, which, everyone should check and make sure that 6 o'clock is the appropriate time when we get closer. But also, my resolution is to have more in-person events, and hanging out in the boardroom while they have an executive session could be an in-person event. And we are calling on all of our ITA members to wear blue and fill the room so that we can be present when they vote. We are also asking those who are so inclined to apply positive, gentle pressure for a Board of Education yes vote by sharing the positive impact this collective bargaining agreement will have on you, your family, your colleagues, your students, basically whatever you are excited about this collective bargaining agreement, show up and take 3 minutes to speak to what we are doing. Nancy, I love the idea of potluck appetizers and desserts and like finger foods passed around the room, especially because if they're having an executive session, we know they're eating. Um, this flyer, we asked building reps to post it in staff rooms. It will also go out on social media. Our communications chair, Molly, gave us a QR code to link to the sign up form. So please sign up for public comment and speak. Um, we've also invited our community supporters to do that. So hopefully we'll have a nice, robust, celebratory board meeting where we break some rules of like, being quiet, stoic people who sit and just listen. And hopefully there will be celebrations in the boardroom. The next step to final ratification is that vote. As soon as they put that stamp on that document, we are good to go and we have a new collective bargaining agreement. Woohoo! That said, the wheels of progress are already in motion. We are set to start making some changes as soon as we go. I have been in all of my conversations that relate to contract language, I've been saying, this is what it says now, but this is what it will say. The payroll office has been working with Brian's step and lane spreadsheet, confirming every member's salary. They've had that since late November. We're working on it. Um, Zach and I spoke, and we're looking at a projected possible date for new salaries applied either by our second February paycheck or our first March paycheck. We're still confirming that. And there will be retro pay. It will be lump sum. It will be shortly following the salary adjustment. And we have new parents who've already started taking 12-week leaves, planning to get themselves some retro sick days reimbursed back and some retro pay for the unpaid time that they took. And by my odds and my due date calculator and baby predictions, it is highly possible that Aurora, who was like the lead architect of our parental leave proposal, may be the first person to use the full parental leave under our collective bargaining agreement, which is pretty darn awesome. Salary adjustments. Brian has been doing tireless work on this. I think his work has kind of slowed a little bit lately. I've been working with payroll and HR to draft salary confirmation letters. We do have a plan to actually get every person like to sign that they verify that the step and the lane and the salary are correct so that there are no mistakes in the future and we have it all set to go. Brian will continue to be the point person for salary support. And if anything weird that affects everybody happens, of course, we will put that out in the snippet. And we'll talk about this a little bit later, but the ITA is hosting 3 January training sessions to apply for lane adjustments ahead of the February 1st deadline. So if you're like, I never learned how to apply in-service and graduate credits, I don't even know what to do, but I know that I have them, David and I will help, and there will be 3 opportunities in the next 2 weeks to get that help.
And Catherine, to be clear, that applying for lane adjustment, that's actually not really new to this contract. That's an old procedure.
No,
So
in fact, we are training people on the old procedure, and then we will adjust the form and the procedure as needed for the September 1st. But yeah, we're training people because that doesn't change no matter what. So moving on to our next agenda item, as I said earlier, the CAT reflected on our close to 3-year Build a Better contract campaign. I feel like major things have happened in my life, and that has been the only real thing. And it just feels pretty incredible to be like, wow, that was a 3-year job that's so close to done. So we met as a group. We talked about what went well, what could have been done better, and what we need to remember to prepare for 2028 negotiations, which are really, really close. So, what went well? You have seen this all before, but it's really important to remind ourselves that the wins were wins and they were things that went well. And if you look at this document and you need to be reminded, the highlighted in green are the things that they wanted, and everything else are the things that we wanted. And that is a pretty badass list of wins. Another thing that went well is member participation in all levels. We stepped up. So throughout this process, one of the goals of the CAT was to make sure that every member had a point person for representation and that everyone who chose to raise their voice had an on-ramp to participation. And that was a really strategic goal because we recognized that all we could do was create the container, but that you all needed to show up and fill the space, right? That like we couldn't say 100% of people will do this because that's not something that we can control. What we can control is making the opportunities available. And it was incredible. We stepped up. Along the way, we built a core team of strong union leaders. We are stronger today, and more of our members are empowered to be leaders of union work because we had people step up to learn how to be contract stewards, to join the CAT, to be kittens. And we now have this incredible team of skilled, savvy organizers and advocates that we can rely on to keep building union power. And that robust rank and file participation. Every time that we were in the negotiating room and someone on the executive team said something really stupid and 150 people stared at them and made faces at them that said, "You just said something really stupid," that really helped throughout this campaign. It was how we flexed our union power. It was what made us able to win the contract that we have won. So we won this fight through leveraging our people power, and we built the union while we did it, and that's pretty remarkable. Aurora, as lead organizer on this campaign, I'm going to give the floor to you to talk about our strategic data-driven organizing.
Yeah, so thank you, Catherine. I'm gonna cry again just for what you said. But one of the things that really is essential in order to engage as many members as possible is to actually know who are our members and what do they care about. So one of the things that we made a big priority was having one-on-one conversations with members and building that 10-to-1 structure, as Catherine was saying. Yeah, it's very close to my heart. Not as close as organizing. We built, and I say we, but really it was Brian, made an incredible spreadsheet. I helped. I was like, "Can you do this?" And Brian's like, made it happen. That allowed us to track a bunch of things of our membership. And the purpose of this spreadsheet was really to say, like, what do our members care about? Who's engaged and on what? And how can we get folks who aren't engaged yet more engaged? Because we knew that, when we left for the summer in June, they were saying like, there's no way you're getting a step in lane. There's no way you're getting above 4.5 and no to our key three, right? They were like, we're doing this health insurance thing and screw, screw your baby having. So we knew that in order to actually win on these things that they said were impossible, we needed to engage as many of our members as possible. So this image here is from Labor Notes, which is a national organization that puts on a conference every other year and also publishes incredible materials. And we've used these materials a lot for training. So if you've ever been to a training that I've run, probably it came from Labor Notes. And this bullseye is like the most essential. It's the cover of their Secrets to a Successful Organizer book. So the idea of the bullseye is that a union is like a bullseye, and you have people at the core who are like doing a ton of organizing. And then you have people outside of that who are activists who are willing to show up and they're ready. And then you have supporters who agree with what's going on, but maybe haven't taken action yet. And then you have folks who are disengaged. Maybe they don't know what's going on. Maybe they don't care. And then you have folks who are outside the bullseye who are like, I disagree with whatever the union's working on. And in Labor Notes terms, they call them hostile. So we, this summer, thought what we should do, and these, sometimes it's a 1 through 5 scale, sometimes it's using these words. We were like, we should figure out like who of our members are core. We know that they're already engaged. etc. Because the goal of all organizing is to move people towards the center. So we wanted to get disengaged people to be supporters of our campaign. We wanted to get supporters to take action and be activists, right? That is the goal of organizing. It's never static, right? Nobody is stuck in one spot. So this summer, we tried to have as many one-on-one conversations as we could to determine where we thought people were with the hopes of moving them towards the center. And I'm happy to say that we really managed to get a ton of people moving up from disengaged to supporter, from supporter to activist. And we built our core. I would say we probably tripled how large our core is. I think at the beginning of this campaign, there were like six of us in David's living room being like, we should make a Build a Better contract campaign. And now the cabinet doesn't even fit in the ITA office. Like we are such a stronger union. So I am so excited for our contract, but I might be even more proud of this organizing that we did. And it's really not possible without tracking every member, right? We need to know where every member is because every member matters and every member is a possible supporter, activist, core member.
Sure. So some stats on member participation. Brian, these are your stats. You want to tell us about them?
Yeah, hey, thanks for letting me sneak these in here. You all can read, but all these stats are centered around, hey, we turn people out. So exactly what Aurora was saying. So every one of these people, and that's all of us who came to a meeting, who came to a rally, that's engagement. That's actually that's more than just supporting, that's activism. So I just remember like over a year ago, it was December, and we had 55 people. And at the time, that was huge, coming to Boynton Middle School to kind of vet contract proposals. And it just seemed like, wow, like this we've hit like peak union right here. And just thinking like in a year, how we so many people turned out for our September actions, so many people engaged in those conversations this summer, so many people had one-on-one building conversations. So I think, I think we learned a lot. And really, like, if you kind of like spread these out, almost every member of our union stepped up beyond disengagement in some way at some point in this process. So it was just, it's been powerful.
Brian, which one of these are you the most excited about?
Um, Yeah, I mean, I think that petition was pretty exciting because that was a real moment where a negotiations moment where they were asserting, admin was asserting, hey, this is a minority issue. In other words, a minority of folks are really interested in the step and lane or interested in better healthcare. And it's very easy to paint the same people who keep coming to the table as just being the vocal minority. And I think that petition, so many people were like, absolutely, I'll sign that. So that was huge.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So, as the cat had our conversations around, things that went well, it's easy to pat ourselves on the back for the things that went well. And we also talked about the things that could have been done better and the missteps. And we want to take a minute to, as the voice of the cat on behalf of the cat, owning some of those missteps. So we want to acknowledge that at times this campaign was a painful process, and that, sometimes when something is near and dear to your heart and your colleagues don't vote for it, that sucks. Sometimes when you have this amazing idea and it doesn't make it all the way up to the top and it doesn't resonate and it doesn't become the way that we do things, that sucks. And sometimes when we disagree, that feels really crappy. And also, the campaign that we ran was not perfect. There were mistakes, organizational mistakes that we are learning from. Aurora spoke to the reasons for member mapping, and we know that our member mapping was not a perfect process that respected the humanity of our members in the way that we would want to. So this process also for many people brought up long-term district and union issues and all of the feelings underlying those issues, and that sometimes they rose up at a time where we just could not address them, and it felt like they were getting swept under the rug. And we really greatly appreciate one of our pieces of democratic decision making that value is democratic discussion and disagreement in that discussion, and how we are building a union that offers a space for that with an eye towards doing things better. And so we really appreciate everyone who has reached out and said, hey, I didn't like this, or hey, this thing that you did hurt me in this way. And those conversations have really helped us to change the way that we work already and will inform the way that we work in the future. And as we enter that future stage, we do all in the CAT want to apologize for the impact of any of those missteps. We want to apologize for anyone who has been harmed through our bargaining process. And we really are thinking of long-term solutions to engage in the work that we do in the most empathetic, humanistic, and values-centered way possible. And because we're good teachers, we can't leave it there. We need to look at what did we need to improve and how are we going to do it? What have we learned and how can we move forward? So these are kind of some resolutions moving forward. So in 2028, for our next contract campaign, one of our goals that we know we could benefit from is more complete representation. So many of our schools had at least one active CAT member and a 1 to 10 cat kitten organizing structure, and some did not. And some of us don't work in just one school, and some of us get missed in those organizing structures, and some of us are itinerant and don't have a structure. What we did know was that schools without a strong cat to kitten presence trended towards lower participation rates in actions, more controversy and confusion over TA agreements, and overall lower voter turnout for ratification. Our elections chair has not told us trends of who voted no, who voted yes. I hypothesize that schools without a strong cat kitten structure probably had higher no votes than schools with a really strong cat kitten structure. So, things that we've learned. Campaigns like this work best when every school is adequately represented. One cat or kitten for every 10 members is that gold standard of representation, and that the cat and the members of each building, the cat and the rank and file, must have a shared responsibility for ensuring each building is covered adequately. The cat will make sure that there are on-ramps, but we need people to get on them, and that's a shared responsibility. Another area that needed improvement in 2028 was clearer norms on the role of the cat. As we were discussing, we had a lot of questions and there were unclear and shifting roles. Questions, is the cat a representative body or are we a delegate body? Are we voting for the members who we represent or are we voting for everyone? What decisions does the cat make versus what requires an all-member council? What requires an all-member approval? And are democratic decisions made by the cat binding for all cat members, even when you didn't agree with the decision when it was voted in cat? So things that we've learned are that we must determine if the cat is a representative body or a delegate body. And we must better define the commitment to uphold decisions made by all union voting bodies. And that work is already being considered as the cabinet works through a revision of our ITA constitution and bylaws. That is the document that guides the operations and policies of the ITA. It has not been updated since 2006, and we have been working on updating it for a couple of years. This spring, we envision bringing this an updated document that reflects who we are right now and who we want to be as a ballot initiative on our spring elections ballot. And the third area that we need to improve on, and we're going to improve on it starting now, is stronger list security. So Aurora talked a lot about the importance of our list. For member mapping, Brian showed the data gleaned from that list so that we know how successful this campaign was. And that list was not secure enough. So what happened was that our elections chair made a vote participation tracking sheet from our big member map. It had a lot more information than it actually needed. That was shared with our cats and kittens to help them get out the vote, and make sure that people had voted. Someone in that group accidentally shared that list more widely than it should have been shared. And as a result, some folks' feelings were hurt when they learned their personal member mapping category without any context. And that felt like a real Mean Girls move. And some folks questioned whether or not they could trust our union to keep their personal information secure. If my email and phone number is being shared with everybody, how can I trust you to protect me? So what we've learned is that any members who state or show that they are opposed to a specific campaign's goals will be coded as opposed instead of hostile. Aurora mentioned that hostile is the industry standard for this work. You saw the diagram, it's right there. But that's obviously an unnecessarily loaded word that doesn't need to be used for this. Opposed to the contract, opposed to the campaign works just as easily. Folks who've indicated oppositions to a campaign's goals will be allowed to opt out of member mapping and will be hidden from the list. We will work to ensure that the lists we use only contain the information needed to accomplish the task at hand, even that if that means extra work for the organizers in creating a whole bunch of lists, sending them out, gathering data, and then transferring the data to other lists that are more secure. And the expectations for who has access to what lists will be made more explicit with all campaign organizers. So with that, moving on to our second agenda item of the day, our next steps. What's next here? So the CAT has elected that immediately upon approval of the collective bargaining agreement, the CAT will disband and dissolve. The work of the CAT has been done, so there's no more need for that CAT. However, there's still a lot of work to be done to make our collective bargaining agreement a reality. So we are forming a new committee called the CARE team. And the CARE team is responsible for the application, refinement, education, and enforcement of the collective bargaining agreement. So the ITA CARE team will be responsible for all of those things. It will be open to all members. It is not an elected committee, it is a voluntary committee. And we need a wide variety of voices on that team. That team will focus on ensuring that the new CBA is successfully implemented, and CAT member Carolyn Anderson will serve as acting chair of that team until a chair is elected by the committee members. It was her idea to start the CARE team, so she became the chair, and she will share meeting info with us very soon about when that team will assemble. Enforcing this great contract is the most important thing. Winning it is one thing, making it actually work for us is really important, and that's what the CARE team is planning to do. They're going to be putting out support documents to help us do that. And we do still have a lot of power and a ton of untapped power. There are some pieces like, what will the student school day look like in the future? We get to be part of those conversations. That ship has not sailed, those decisions have not been made. And we need robust engagement from all members to continue showing up and doing union work. I loved at the beginning of this meeting when so many people's resolution was to keep showing up, because that's exactly what we need. We will be offering some member education and engagement, and that member education and engagement will be paid as often as we can get it paid. It will be up to us to ensure that the extra hours that ICSD asks us to work next year is used for us to get work done at work. That's going to be our responsibility to hold those boundaries. Our union siblings in EA, ESP, and ISA are all about to start negotiating their contracts. We don't anticipate any of them doing open bargaining, but we have pledged any support that they ask for, so we will be there for them. Has Beverly made it onto the call yet? Our member events chair? I know that she was at, nope, she was at Identity Strand work today. So we are having a celebration party to celebrate ratifying our collective bargaining agreement. Ithaca Beer has offered to host us in their private room at no cost to the ITA, no room fee to the ITA, just because they love teachers, which is pretty awesome. So on Thursday, February 12th, which is the Thursday before February break, Friday's kind of a throwaway day anyway, so we thought it was a good day. Ithaca Beer, 4 to 7, free food, private space, celebration, cash bar. And part of the reason for cash bar is to acknowledge that ITA is conscious of people who are actively sober and who choose that lifestyle. And we feel like, as a sign of respect, dues shouldn't contribute to alcohol. And alcohol is perfectly optional at this event, but the food, absolutely not optional. We're paying for that. So we have a goal of making some of our future events hosted in a range of different types of spaces and getting people together to be able to socialize with one another in a less formal way than a Zoom meeting, is a real priority for this year. Anyone who came to a negotiation session and sat in a caucus that also included dinner experienced the feeling of that union vibe that we are trying to bring up as often as we can, of just union members and colleagues who may never pass each other in their work, having a chance to just talk with one another about our shared experiences and get to know one another. And Riley, I love, yeah, it's where the magic happens. That was, for me, my favorite part of the entire negotiation. My second favorite part of the entire negotiating process was those dinners in those caucuses. My first is that, man, it feels great to really, really, really lay it on Dr. Brown sometimes. Next steps for ITA work, we will have a renewed focus on committee work. Our health and safety team has new co-chairs, Gary Isaac and Elise Foyer. Our Social Justice League is going to resume the work on building alignment with community resource groups. Our PAC and Vote Cope are just about to start the spring election season. Board of Education elections are just around the corner, and we have not yet raised enough money to run a Board of Education election this year, because we haven't really started our Vote Cope drive, because we didn't want to start a Vote Cope drive until people were getting more money in their paychecks. So as soon as we ratify, you can expect a full frontal Vote Cope drive to roll out so that we can be ready for those May elections. And our membership team is focused, our membership chair and our membership committee is focused on building a team to better engage new and potential members earlier, especially since athletic coaches and extracurricular advisors will be groups of people who we can now bring in to our union under the new collective bargaining agreement. We are also going to jumpstart some campaigns that we were paused. Reimagining APPR. There's got to be a much better way to do APPR than we're currently doing it. So David Isley will be leading our work in focusing on a plan that promotes accountability and supportive educator growth. And he really wants to create a plan that not only supports a first, second, third year teacher, but also supports the professional growth of a 20, 25, 30-year teacher. Talked about it earlier, but we are revising and voting on our ITA constitution and bylaws. That is the ITA's operational manual. It has not had a whole document review since 2006. It's time. And we will be actively participating in NYSET's Fix Tier 6 campaign. Brian reminded us the other day at Cabinet that over 50% of ITA members are in either Tier 5 or Tier 6.
Tier
And
6.
just tier 6, you haven't
Yeah.
even looked at the tier 5s.
Yeah.
Over half our members are in tier 6. Tier 6, for those of you who don't know, is 40 years of service. 40. 40. It's not okay. We're going to fix it. 2026 is the year. I am looking at our quorum. Oh, here was the other question that I was going to ask about our quorum. Is if you are currently sitting in a room with more than one person, like 10 people, 20 people, can you please let us know? Because if we do not have 50 people on this call, we will skip right along to upcoming events and adjourning our meeting. Okay, so our resolution vote to join the TC Workers Center Minimum Wage Coalition will be tabled. The next opportunity to vote will be our March all-member meeting. We are not going to bring resolution voting to Ithaca Beer and the ratification celebration. So moving along through our voting procedure, there we go. Upcoming events. What's going on? Tomorrow and every payday Friday, since now we get paid on Thursdays, a little bit weird. President's office hours, botanist from 7:30 to 8:30, payday pints with the president at personal best. Great opportunity for quick questions and informal connections with ITA leadership. We talked earlier about filling the room on Tuesday, January 27th. Applying positive, gentle pressure to the Board of Ed to vote yes on our collective bargaining agreement, and being there to celebrate when they do vote yes. And we will follow up with Nancy on organizing the past apps in the boardroom idea. Ratification party, Thursday, February 12th, 4 to 7, Ithaca Beer. We've got the food, we've got the space, cash bar. That party will serve as our in-person February meeting. We announced last month that for the rest of the year, we will be alternating between Zoom meetings in March and May and in-person meetings in April and June. Our in-person meetings will also they'll start a little bit later. They'll have a potluck dinner. The potluck dinner will probably be first. And we will work to get these meetings scheduled in a place that has playground and to ensure that we have some responsible folks to mind the children on the playground while the business of the union happens. Our in-service application workshops. So for people who have enough in-service, think they might have enough in-service credits to apply for a lane adjustment, on Tuesday, January 20th, the day we get back from our 3-day weekend, Boynton Middle School, David will be leading a workshop from 4 to 5 o'clock. And because that meeting is on a Tuesday and not during contract time, it will be a paid or in-service opportunity that you need to register in Frontline for, and it's limited to 20 participants. Wednesday, January 28th, which is Wednesday meeting day, I will be running 2 sessions at the ITA office, 2:45 to 3:45 for elementary staff. I do realize that that's late and I just have another meeting that I'm going to be coming straight from. 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock for secondary staff, though any elementary people who would rather join us at 4 to 5, you are welcome. And any secondary who happens to be out by 2:45, you're welcome to join us at the first one. These are Wednesday sessions, so they cannot be paid because they will replace your Wednesday meeting requirement. We will take attendance. We will send it to building leaders. You do not need to pre-register, but an email heads up would be nice. Emily or Jen, do either of you want to do the plug for PAC?
I can. So yes, we're gonna have another PAC meeting. It's gonna be Thursday, January 29th. We really would love to have as many people there as possible. Tell your friends. It's a fun committee. We do so much important work on the Board of Ed elections. So we're hoping to have you there.
Thank you. We are still wearing blue on Thursdays until we have a collective bargaining agreement. We're getting so close. I hope people's blue shirts are not completely worn out. I feel like mine has been through the wash too many times already. And on Sunday, March 8th, there is going to be a massive rally, not just teachers, but laborers as well, filling the MVP Arena in Albany to have a fixed tier 6 rally. All expenses are paid, and there will be a bus from the Ithaca High School parking lot to Albany for the rally that will also bring you home the same day at no expense to you. The ITA has committed that we will have at least 25 folks on that bus. If we fill the bus, we get the whole bus. If we only fill half the bus, then that bus will then head on up to Cortland, pick up their 25 committed people, and hit up 88 and head on out. Um, but if you are somebody who came to one of our rallies and thought it was fun, you gotta be there. This is going to be a really big deal. So sign up. There's a registration in the snippet. We'll keep running registration in the snippet and we will get this going. We're gonna fix tier 6. With that said, for those who did not hear at the very beginning, we did just get news about an hour and a half ago that the Cayuga United Nurses won their union certification vote, which is awesome. Super majority, what was it, 86%? Super majority for their ratification vote. That's huge. And they're going to push for open bargaining of their very first union contract, which will be an amazing thing that we're going to help them and support them with the entire time. And to that end, I am going to motion to adjourn. Need some kind of second in some kind of way.
Seconded.
Excellent. All in favor?
Why? That's three of us are ready to go.
I see so
Good.
many thumbs.
So many thumbs. I don't even think it makes sense to ask for the opposed, but for Robert's Rules of Order, is anyone opposed to adjourning? Brian has raised a hand. Oh, that's him just voting. Yes, okay, cool. Okay, then this meeting is officially adjourned. ITA leadership cabinet members will stay on for a few extra minutes. We will not stay on until 5:25. Enjoy your day and get home safe, everybody. And thank you, thank you, thank you. We hope to see you February 12th at Ithaca Beer.
Thank you.
Thank you. Solidarity, everybody. Emily, let's stop the recording. I'm going to stop the sharing. Cool.